Okay friends, in this particular module, welcome actually, sorry, welcome to this module number 12. We will be discussing about wireless physical layer and then we will look at telephone line physical layer. Two wireless physical layers we are going to look at, one is called 802.11 or the Wi-Fi physical layer, and the other one is called 802.16 or WiMAX physical layer. WiMAX is declining actually, Wi-Fi is prevalent, people are using it. WiMAX is declining because LTE based communication is being used more often than WiMAX, but then the physical layer has little difference. So, we will continue talking about this wireless physical layer, which is almost the same as the LTE or other layer. So, we will be discussing this. Okay, let us start with 802.11 or Wi-Fi. Now, these two words will use interchangeably, but then there is a difference. 802.11 is a standard from IEEE for building local area network in a wireless fashion. Now, when IEEE has given this, a lot of vendors started pulling that standard and using that thing for building devices. They started competing with each other, started implementing this thing in the fashion they believe the best. And what they understood after some competition is that if they drive little too hard, then their devices are incompatible. Access point of company X won't work with a laptop of or wireless card of company Y and so on and so forth. So, vendor realized that okay, this is something which is going to create a problem. So, what did they do? They had their own alliance and they call it Wi-Fi alliance, okay, wireless fidelity alliance. And what did they do? They said that we will have our own additional standards on top of the 802.11 standard. These standards, additional standard mean for interoperability. So, a device from one vendor, one manufacturer work with somebody else, and devices which follow these are called Wi-Fi devices. But then as a layman, people do not really understand the difference between 802.11, which is a technical name given by IEEE, and additional standard which is given by Wi-Fi. Everything is called Wi-Fi in slang, and we will use that, we will use this word interchangeably as long as we do not need to specify what is what. But however, they have this different different meaning. Okay. As I said, 802.11 is a specification of wireless networks from IEEE, and Wi-Fi is a standard from vendors alliance. And remember, Wi-Fi alliance does not include IEEE, they are outside body. But understand that 802.11 is a standard which is there, on top of which there is a Wi-Fi standard. Wi-Fi standard uses IEEE. Okay. And there are, in fact, there are many standards actually. 802.11 I mentioned about A, B and G, but there are few others. B is one standard which B came before A, okay, that is why I listed here. Then came A, B was 11 Mbps, A was 54 Mbps, G again was 54 Mbps. B used 2.4 gigahertz to 2.48 gigahertz range. Remember, this is something we looked at in module 10. A used 54 Mbps, but used that 5 gigahertz range. G used the same range which B was using, 2.4 gigahertz to 2.48 gigahertz, okay, and provide 54 Mbps. 802.11n provided 600 Mbps. It uses MIMO technology. If you remember, I discussed about that in 10th module. 802.11 AC is able to provide 1 Gbps. Okay. So, these are the speeds, but these speeds are the maximum possible speed. Please understand, when I say 54 MB, there are two constraints on it. First, this 54 MB is only available if you are very near to it. Second, that 54 MB is not only yours, is everybody who is there in the vicinity. So, it is being shared. So, you will not get all 54 MB, you will get your own share, that is the only thing. So, okay. So, when you say an Ethernet provides 100 MB speed or 1 GB speed, a single node will get that speed. Here everybody in the network together will get that speed. Okay. So, this little misnomer here, these speeds. Okay. Okay. So, many operational modes are possible. Here are this thing. Okay. One is called ad hoc and the other one is infrastructure mode. Ad hoc mode, two wireless devices communicate with each other. In case of infrastructure mode, there is an access point which coordinate between multiple senders. Okay. This thing called distributed control, when two laptops talk to each other directly, it is called distributed control, and access point is using it is called point control. So, this is called DCF, distributed control function, and point when you use access point it is called point control access function or PCF. Okay. Access points can also be used as something called hybrid controller. What is that? We will study when we talk about something called extension of this thing 802.11. Okay. This is based on much later. Okay. This design was heavily influenced by Ethernet. Ethernet was connectionless, so they said we will have connectionless. Ethernet said anybody can transmit at any point of time. They also followed the strategy, so on and so forth. Okay. WiMAX on the contrary is connection oriented. Okay. It establishes connection and then send. And people call WiMAX. Okay. WiMAX is same to 802.16 which Wi-Fi to 802.11. What does that mean? WiMAX is basically a standard from the alliance of vendors for interoperability issues. 802.16 is an IEEE standard. Okay. 802.11 physical layers, these three layers I have already told you that B and G use 2.4 gigahertz, while A uses this 5 gigahertz range. Okay. This 11B provide 11 MB, okay, using something called direct sequence spread spectrum, which is a spread spectrum technology, it spreads the signal. And one very good thing about DSSS is that very immune to noise, is better immune to noise. Okay. And this mechanism uses something called orthogonal frequency division multiplexing or OFDM. Okay. 54 MB, this both A and G provides 54 MB using OFDM technology. Okay. Remember, is a shared medium. So, the speed that we are talking about is basically shared and only available if you are nearby. Okay. I have told you this 802.11n has MIMO technology, uses 4 antennas transmitting microwave communication together. So, you get that 600 MB. We have already seen this 5 gigahertz range is vulnerable to rain and vegetation. Okay. So, leaves also absorb those waves. So, if you have thick vegetation across, if you are sending across a jungle, probably your signal will not reach at the other end if you are using this range. This range is not available free in India, it is available, but not free in India. Okay. 2.4 gigahertz is very crowded. Not only are 802.11 B and G are using it, microwave ovens use it, many remote control devices use that, even Bluetooth is using that. So, a lot of transmission going on, as possibility of lot of interference is there. Okay. Now, let us look at modes that are available in 11B sends 11 mega chips per second. Now, what are chips? As I said, is using DSSS or direct sequence spread spectrum. So, a single bit is sent as a multiple bit and that multiple bit string is called a chip. Okay. So, those chips 11 mega chips per second are sent for 11 MB speed. Okay. Ad hoc mode uses CSMA-CA mode that we have seen, or the other mode is just send. Why that RTS CTS seems great, but the problem is that it adds a lot of overhead. I want to send something, so I will send RTS and wait for the CTS and then I will send something. And wireless, as I have told you, however good it looks like, the actual bandwidth available to sender is always less. And we will also see that the frames also contain a lot of additional headers. So, that part also eats up a lot of space. So, eventually what you have is very less, and also there are a lot of errors. Okay. So, it is quite likely that the frame will be corrupted. So, you might so it is you usually favor a small fragment based transmission. So, because of all those reasons, most cases RTS CTS based transmission is not preferred. You just send a small frame, hope that will reach at the other end without much of a trouble. Okay. It is called just send or direct transmission mode. And 802.11 obviously is a broadcast mode. You are sending, everybody in the vicinity will listen, point to multi-point. Okay. And one more thing, the physical layer is capable to work at multiple speeds. As I have said, when you go to a longer distance, the speed reduces. Okay. So, the physical layer is capable to make sure that the speed reduces with the distance. So, the errors are kept in check. Okay. 11A and Z, both of them are 54 Mbps, but their reach is much lesser. Okay. Compared to that, B provides almost 7 times more reach. Okay. You may not find this difference very interesting, unless you will have to have a big hall to be covered. Okay. Number of 802.11b access points you need will be much lesser than A. Okay. So, and this auto negotiation that we talked about also happens here, B/G/N cards that are available. So, if you have that card installed, even if the access point work with B, your laptop will be able to work. If the access point is upgraded to G, your laptop will be able to work with faster speed. If the laptop is increased its capacity to N, your laptop will start working at that speed. So, that auto negotiation which was there in Ethernet also exists at this place. One of the very important thing happened in this area is the evolution of technology called orthogonal frequency division multiplexing or OFDM. Okay. The power of OFDM can be explained like this. Suppose if I have this frequency and there is one more frequency band, usually this frequency band transmission overlaps here and they collide with each other. That is the reason usually two frequencies are kept little different, okay, little apart. So, even when they spill over, they do not interfere with each other. If you look at your radio stations, no 98.9 or 98.8 is one radio station, you will not have one more station at 98.9 just because of this reason. And if you try changing your frequency to 98.9, you probably will be able to listen little noisy radio station just because that frequency is spilling over there. So, now that is a problem. In case of orthogonal case, the frequencies that we use are orthogonal to each other, cancels each other out. What does that mean? That means that I can actually place two frequencies much nearer, okay. And if you listen at the center of it, you will be able to clearly listen to that frequency. There is no interference because they cancel each other out, okay. They do not spill over like this, okay. They do not spill over like in the areas like this, they cancel each other out, okay. So, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing is comparatively better, okay. There is no crosstalk even when close densely packed frequencies are used, okay. You do not need something called guard bands, the additional frequency that is left is called guard bands, they are not needed in this case. That is the reason why 11A and 11G uses same OFDM, and it is quite interesting. 11G is using 2.4 to 2.48 gigahertz, will provide 11 MB. 11G uses the same frequency band, will provide 54 MB, just because the frequencies are packed nearby and used. So, 11 MB to 54 MB is possible because of OFDM. Okay. OFDM is also used in 802.16 WiMAX. Wireless MAN standards, there is something called 802.20 or mobile wireless MAN standard is also using OFDM, or LTE project. Okay, they are the mobile phones that use LTE, they are based on something called high speed OFDM packet access. now it is named as evolved UMTS, terrestrial radio access. Okay. That also is using, this is basically an OFDM technology. Most of the existing current technologies use OFDM just because of this. Okay. There is something else which is also happening. There was some band given to analog TV, that part now all the TV also have become digital. So, that part is now freed and now to be used for something called cognitive radio. That means, no anybody can use it. When you are using it, you will have to just make sure that others are not using you. If somebody else starts using it, you will have to just move to some other frequency. Okay. When you do that, it is called cognitive radio. We will throw some more light on cognitive radio when we talk about software defined networks, because they have some relation. Okay. Okay. So, earlier assigned TV sets now deallocated and provided. Okay. The solution which is being used, wireless regional area network, which is using that part, is also deploying OFDM to use that. Okay. Now, this technology OFDM is called wideband technology. Now, what is wideband? Let me try to explain. I have this frequency, this range, and I can say that I am sending a big signal of this complete frequency, or I can use small components of it and send multiple signal, one signal of this frequency, other one is this, other third one is this, and so on. Okay. OFDM is like this. Is a wideband technology, uses multiple channels. Okay. Divide wideband technology into multiple smaller bands known as channels. Okay. And instead of sending a big signal, only send smaller. What is the advantage? When you send small signals, you do not have those high frequency components which are cut off. Not only that, when you have multiple channels, you can see that, oh, this channel is experiencing a lot of noise. So, I say that I am not going to use this channel. I will find that this channel is almost noiseless. I will say that let me use QAM 64 here. This channel is even better. So, I am using QAM 256. This channel is little noisy, but I can still use it. I say that I will use QPSK. QPSK is 2 bits per symbol. This 64 is much better, 256 even better. Okay. So, I can actually see what each channel offers me given the current noise in that channel, and I can use that channel to the maximum. I can avoid very noisy channels. So, this offers me a far better advantage. I can be dynamic enough to choose the best possible capability of a channel and utilize it. Okay. So, I can intelligently decide the noise level and accordingly the capacity, okay. Suitable modulation, I can decide that suitable modulation for that channel. Okay. And I can effectively utilize that channel. Okay. I know that channel is noisy, I will use QPSK, not noisy, I will use QAM 64. A very good channel, I use QAM 256, I will get 8 bits per symbol. Okay. That eventually you squeeze maximum bandwidth out of the spectrum that you have. Okay. And that produces a far better spectral density. It is more resilient to something called non-line of sight issue. Okay. Whenever sender and receiver are not in line, amount of data transmitted reduces, and OFDM is comparatively better because it can manage that, the amount of reduction is much lesser. OFDM using 52 frequencies, out of it 48 are used for data and 4 are used for synchronizing. How that is done we will not look at in more detail here, but you can again look at references that are already provided. Okay. Here it is basically a spread spectrum, as I said, sending in a wide band, but it is not DSSS or other technology, this is different. One very important thing is I can use non-contiguous bands for one transmission. Okay. What does that mean? here is my channel. It is quite possible that I am using this and this channel. Okay. I say that I am going to use this 4 channels, it is fine. They are not contiguous, it is just fine. OFDM can do it. This is one more advantage of OFDM. Non-contiguous channels are possible to be used. Adjust as per distance. So, when the distance is more, obviously the modulation is to be reduced. Okay. The data speed has to be reduced. OFDM can do that as well. Okay. 802.16 physical layer. Now, the OFDM is also used here, but it is a little different than 802.11. So, we will be throwing some light on that difference here. Here 802.16 provides a city wide or circle wide service. Okay. It will give you, in fact, the standard says that it will work for 10 kilometers and maximum speed is possible to be provided, say 35 to 70 MB is a good value, but it is not 35 to 70 MB for 10 kilometers. We use 10 kilometers, the amount of bandwidth that you available is much lesser. As I said, WiMAX is no longer declining, people are not preferring that. LTE based solutions are little better, but anyway is almost similar to that mechanism. Okay. WiMAX is a forum taking care of interoperability like the case of Wi-Fi in case of 802.11, 802.16 is the physical layer for it. It says that 10 MB, 10 GB to 66 gigahertz range were specified in the first version of WiMAX, but then expensive, that those devices to be used in those ranges were expensive. So, later versions say that WiMAX will use 2.4 gigahertz and 2.48 gigahertz as well. Okay. And mobile service users use something called OFDMA. Now, this is also used by LTE. Okay. It is basically a multi-access version of OFDM. Not only LTE is also used by our household DSL connections. Okay. You probably have ADSL connection at your home, okay, that is using the same technology. Here what does it do? It uses, uses 256 sub carriers, okay, and a sub channel is something which is collection of some sub carriers. Okay. As I said, dynamic transmission rate based on demand is possible. What does that mean? Suppose if 802.16, this is the range that I have, and for current cycle, if I need this much amount of data to be sent and this much amount of data to be received, I can decide that this range. For the next cycle, I think that I am going to receive more, so I will decide it this way. Okay, so I will be sending more, receiving less. I can decide this actually. So, it is possible to do dynamically. I can decide the amount of time slots. There are two methods, based on time slots or based on frequency slots. So, I will decide time slots or frequency slots based on what I need in the next cycle. So, before every cycle, this decision is taken dynamically. So, the amount of data that you send, amount of data that you receive in every cycle is going to be different, not the same. Okay. Every subscriber only transmit during their slot. Now, a case here is you have, see, there is something called a base station or BS and a multiple receivers called subscriber stations or customers devices. Okay. Now, this connection oriented, once the connection is established and then you will be able to send. You will only be able to send during your time slot or using your frequency slot. You cannot use anything else. Okay. Okay. So, you can every subscriber only transmit during their slot. Now, here is a typical example of WiMAX communication. SS1 is sending in slot 1, SS2 is sending in slot 2, SS3 is sending in slot 3, SS4 is sending in slot 4. Okay. Receiving, everyone also has the slot 1 is going here, slot 2 coming here, slot 3 is going there and slot 4 is coming here. And you can see that there is no space in between, this is a continuous transmission, this is again a difference here. Okay. So, here we have a base station and here are subscribers. So, base station to subscriber, there are two, as I said, there are two parts, uplink part and a downlink part, which is dynamically changing depending on the situation, depending on how much every subscriber is sending as well as receiving in the next cycle. So, this part is dynamically decided and base station decides that, okay, and the downlink everybody has their own slots. So, you will be only reading your slots and writing also you have your own slots. In fact, there are 4 different types of services which are provided. I am not going to discuss about those services, but that is very important here, that this design is so good that it will cater to all those requirements. Okay. Slots for sending and receiving are different, every frame has sending part first and then the receiving part. Frequencies are orthogonal, remember they are using OFDM. And there is Hamming code used for forward error correction. Okay. So, the advantage is that you get much lesser number of errors eventually. Okay. It is basically stream like transmission, I have said there is no gap in between, it is quite uninterrupted fashion. In connection oriented service, only when connection is established you will be able to send or receive, not before. Okay. It provides 4 different services, we will not be discussing about them at this point of time. Okay. As I said, each user is given a frequency slot which is called a sub channel, which may not be adjacent, and when base station is sending, for everybody there is a slot, and slot might contain multiple sub channels. When sender is sending, also sending in a sub channel. Okay. So, that is, and similarly every frequency slot as a OFDM provides will look at the capability of that particular channel. If the channel is able to provide huge bandwidth, we will use it. Channel is not able to provide because of noise, will use that. So, QPSK or QAM 256 or whatever it can will try to get. Okay. The noisy channel will just skip that channel. Now, this is sub carriers and sub channels are explained. You can say there are 4 sub channels here. Sub channel 1 has carrier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. This is sub channel 1 and you can see that they are not contiguous. This is sub channel 2 and you can see that this also is not contiguous. Sub channel 3 and it is also not contiguous. Fortunately, 4 is contiguous. Okay. So, here are sub channels and sub carriers. Okay. This is about WiMAX. Telephone based XDSL based connection is also very common today. So, you just get an ADSL line to your home and there is something called ADSL modem that you probably have installed, and there is a splitter which divides 2 wires, one goes to the telephone and the other one goes to your computer. So, we will just see how it looks like, but this is something which is common today, and here is some information. You will find landline phones everywhere, and even this is also true also for the mobile case in most of these things. But anyway, we are discussing about the landline phone in this particular case. XDSL is basically multiple connection of multiple types of digital subscriber lines. ADSL is just one of them, is most popular, but then there are others possible. Okay. They use category 3 and 5 wirings and now they have other wirings also. Okay. And we will be discussing about them. There are 3 categories that those are normally used. ADSL, asymmetric digital subscriber line, where you have less sending bandwidth than downlink bandwidth. So, you upload less and download more, and this is suited for normal user because you hardly send anything up, usually download more. Okay. So, ADSL is most common and most used, but then SDSL Symmetric DSL is used by people who are building websites. So, they build websites and upload websites and download websites. Their upload download traffic is huge, even ISPs and others. Okay. So, SDSL is used. People who need huge bandwidth also use high speed DSL. So, these are three common types of DSL services offered by telephone companies and people using. There are a few others also, but not in popular use. How it is done? There is something called filter which is removed from the wire. Once you remove that, the entire wire is available for you. By default, only 4K available from that device. Usually, there is the old first version category 3 wire, you can have actually 1.1 megahertz capability, but you can only use 4K just because the filter was deployed. The first thing done here is when you want to offer an ADSL line, that filter is removed from the exchange. Okay. And there are, and obviously that, remember one simple rule that I have provided, I have talked about, thicker the wire, more the bandwidth, longer the wire, lesser the bandwidth. So, if you are further from telephone exchange, you will not get the speed which you expect. Okay, you get lesser the speed. And there are some claims like ADSL. There are 3 things that I have listed here. There are few others also. ADSL, which they started with 1 MB sending speed, 8 MB receiving speed or downloading speed, 3.5 MB and 12, and here this is 0.3 and 24 MB. Now, these are the standards provided. Okay. This uses ADSL uses digital transmission, it sends digital data, but use analog signaling and not digital signaling. It uses curved waves and not square waves. Okay. Okay. It deploys a technique called discrete multitone. Discrete multitone works like this. Okay. It divides available bandwidth 1.1 megahertz into total 256 channels. Now, you can see that OFDM used to do the same. This is same. Okay. Yes, it is OFDM. EMT and OFDM are quite similar, almost on the same lines. 0 to 5, 0 to 4 are used for voice. 5 to this thing are used for data transmission. And if you remember, there is a device called splitter where one goes to your telephone and the other one goes to the computer. Now, this part is connects to your computer, this part connects to your voice channel. In fact, your voice requires only one of the channel out of this. So, what does it do? Your telephone actually chooses one of the best channels where the noise is minimum and start using that for voice. This part is using for data transmission, where the same technique is applied to look at the capacity of every channel and squeeze the best possible bandwidth from every channel. The typical ADSL setup is like this. At your place, you get this plug and there is a splitter. One connection goes to telephone, the other one goes to this ADSL, let us call ADSL modem, where your computers connect to, or you can have multiple computers connect to it. This is not basically a modem, though people use word modem. Modem is something which modulates and demodulates, is not doing that in that sense. However, what actually happens, your voice and web access traffic combines, reaches here to the telephone exchange. Now, telephone exchange has to split them. So, telephone exchange also has a kind of splitter. The telephone case goes there, it uses something called codec to convert your voice call into a digital transmission. Okay. And digital transmission goes further. On the other hand, and you are not connected, you are not the only one who is connected to the splitter, all users. Okay, if this telephone exchange has 1000 users, all 1000 users are coming here. So, this splitter actually is splitting all those the wires, the information that is coming in. So, this DSLAM is basically is a collection of multiple ADSL modems. Okay. You can say that is a huge modem containing all possibility of sending the information to all those together. Okay. Eventually, your web traffic is to be diverted to ISP. So, that is done at that place. With that note, let us conclude this module. Remember what we have seen in this module. We have looked at physical layer of 3 things: 802.11, which are standard from IEEE, and there is a standard from vendor called Wi-Fi. We use that, with that we discussed that first. Then we looked at 802.16 or WiMAX, the second physical layer. The third physical layer that we have seen is the telephone lines, okay, something which we use in our day to day life when you use connect to the network, connect to internet using an ADSL modem. There are 3 different types of DSL which normally people use: ADSL, SDSL and VDSL, and we briefed about that as well in this particular module. With that note, we will conclude. Thank you all.